Now, scenes can be a number of things. For example, this. Because in this series, we're going to cover stunts, explosions,
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Maybe even great moments of kinetic dialogue.
You take lymphoma and tuberculosis.
You take tuberculosis. My smoking doesn't go over at all.
Maybe even love scenes. No, not that. More like this. 2 simple rules. No scenes focus strictly on fighting. And no period dramas allowed.
You look like a badger. Are you going to cry? Well, what do you think you look like? Badger.
So, let's do this.
Jesus Christ.
Let's start off with a good scene.
Inviting me on the show.
This is from the 2019 Oscar hit, Joker.
You're just like the rest of them.
Prior to this film's release, director Todd Phillips was best known for his work on the Hangover series. He also did this.
We've got to keep our composure! We've gone too far! Keep our composure!
Which is a far cry from this. This scene gets everything right. Pitting 2 incredible actors, Joaquin Phoenix and Robert De Niro, opposite each other certainly helps. But there are subtle things that are going on here that you don't even really notice until you study the scene. For example, the camera is consistently crossing the line. So here we're on the Joker's left shoulder, and here we're on the right. And the same with Murray. The scene for the most part avoids using music to frame its dramatic tension.
Inviting me on the show. You just wanted to make...
Until finally, it kicks in.
Just like the rest of them.
Further establishing its sense of purpose. And then we have...
Abandoned him! A piece of my trash! Call the police, I'll tell you what you get! Call the police! Get what you deserve!
Chilling moment. Why does this scene, even 5 years on, feel so incredibly real? I would say it's definitely that it happens so instantaneously, but also because it's captured on this wide, and it's clean, not over-exaggerated, simple. The screams, the panic, and Phoenix's acting in the aftermath is just as chilling as the precursor. I would say the reason this scene is even more remarkable than it seems is because the film, up until this point, does a few things very right and a few bizarre things that don't really pay off. It really feels like it's trying its hardest to not be part of a superhero universe.
You think this is funny?
Dad, it's me!
And instead, it feels like it wants to play in the same field as its inspirations did.
You wouldn't get it.
Clumsy scenes like this
What's your name?
I'm Bruce.
don't really fit the tone, but they are all part of this new world of movie making where IP and metrics rule. Unlike the 70s where the auteur directors were the metric, and this scene is arguably just as powerful in a different way.
Yeah, my flowers and you didn't get them, but I sent some flowers.
And we'll cover it another time, because this guy wants to go next. This scene shares so many similarities with the scene from Joker. Again, we're playing with the idea of the media and this Orwellian age we live in, where shocking things happen on camera.
Everyone get the out! Get the out! You, get out!
That are both unexpected and expected. The TV show's The Boys' central premise is what if Superman was evil? And its central antagonist, Homelander, is the answer. Narcissistic, troubled, and uncontrollable. The quality of TV and streaming shows is so high right now that they are comparative with movies, and thusly shall be featured in this series. And one of the reasons it's comparative is because we now get awful scenes like this.
Wanda, Black Bolt could destroy you with one whisper from his mouth.
What mouth?
This is from the movie Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. The scene is our first bad scene of the video, because it gets so much wrong here. Ignoring the fact that the movie decides to fan cast for a few characters and then immediately kill them off, it's again playing with the concept of an antagonist losing control and lashing out. But it's handled so very poorly. The CG is an eyesore and the action feels very haphazard, which is strange because the same director did this. However, the thing that really lets the scene down is the acting.
Haven't you had enough? I could do this all day.
Unlike the previous two scenes, because in the previous two scenes, without context, we could feel the emotion of our characters. This scene, out of context, just doesn't carry the same weight. And for a scene of such significance, which, if you have the context, shapes a lot of the narrative, to not have the title character, Doctor Strange, involved is a poor decision from the writers and the filmmaker. Because Benedict Cumberbatch is an elite actor, elevates most roles he takes on. His turn in Sherlock Holmes is maybe the most memorable in the role of the past 40 years.
The name Sherlock Holmes and the address is 221B Baker Street.
Maybe even better than his fellow Marvel co-star Robert Downey Jr.'s interpretation of the role.
Doctor perhaps.
But it's his arch nemesis that we're going to explore further. Look at the very different ways that Moriarty is introduced to the audience.
Rest assured, if you attempt to bring destruction down upon me, I shall do the same to you. My respect for you, Mr. Holmes, is the only reason you're still alive.
Hi. So you're Sherlock Holmes.
What do you think the difference is? Now, of course, both are stylistically different. You have the almost somber visuals of the BBC production against the more flashy and intentional style of Guy Ritchie. But what is it that the two scenes really did differently? In the comments, let me know and timestamp it with the word strange. Meanwhile, let's look at the way Guy Ritchie handles two very similar scenes and two others from his earlier movie, Snatch. All three are boxing scenes, but somewhat indicative of most directors, his style remains the same, even though the narratives for each are so different. Sherlock calculates his moves to a T.
First, distract target. Then block his blind jab. Counter with cross to left cheek. Discombobulate. Dazed, he'll attempt wild haymaker. Employ elbow block. And body shot.
With voiceover, whereas Brad Pitt's character Mikey is more instinctive.
This is sick. I'm out of here. Can I go in anyway, you tick lump? You said till the job's done.
But the way they're shot is pretty much the same, and without a doubt, both are highly entertaining. But these two films were shot within a 9-year period of each other. Over the years, Ritchie's style has evolved ever so slightly. Matured, one might say.
What the do you want?
I want your liver.
Or maybe not.
Right! Now, put the phone
on the ground.
Guy Ritchie's style will remain its style, even when adapting text like Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes. All directors typically find their own style and stick with it, which is why the recent Netflix show Ripley feels so very different to, oh, look, it's him again, the talented Mr. Ripley.
Tom Ripley.
Tom Ripley?
We were at Princeton together.
Okay. Did we know each other?
Hello. Well, I knew you, so...
Exact same text, very different adaptations. And this actor leads us back to...
So you're Sherlock Holmes.
The difference here. Well, it's not as simple as you think. Guy Ritchie is a very talented director, but his character work doesn't always have much depth. Typically, his characters don't stray into the grey areas. They are normally good or bad. In Sherlock, he paints Sherlock as good and Moriarty as bad, and thusly we have a fantastic encounter between the two characters. But it's also a battle of good versus bad, whereas the writers of BBC's Sherlock Holmes, Stephen Moffat and Mark Gatiss, aren't afraid to dumb down Moriarty for the purposes of the scene.
Well, I'd better be off. I'll see you at the Fox, about 6ish?
Yeah.
Bye. It was nice to meet you.
And for the deception of both Sherlock and the audience. Both versions of Moriarty are good, but there is something brilliant about how this guy...
Hi. So you're Sherlock Holmes. Wally's told me all about you.
...is really this guy.
Oh, let me guess. I get killed.
Kill you? No, don't be obvious. I mean, I'm going to kill you anyway someday.
A director who's tried to evolve his style over the recent years is Damien Chazelle. He went from less style and more substance in Whiplash to more style and substance in Babylon over the course of just 4 movies. But La La Land was perhaps when his evolution peaked. Musical numbers are hard to get right, but he absolutely nailed the first dance sequence. It has its flaws for sure. The timing isn't quite right for some of the dancing, due to it being a one-take shot, but nonetheless, 10/10 for ambition. However, the later dance sequences suffer slightly, especially with our 2 lead actors, Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone, neither of whom are trained dancers, and the dancing isn't quite on point, which wouldn't normally be such a bad thing if it was, say, a fight scene. You can always get away with it, to a degree, with some clever editing. But dance is a very hard thing to cut around. Someone who isn't quite skilled with dance will be exposed. And whilst the movie gets away with it to a certain degree, it still feels like it could have been much tighter with trained dancers. Because when compared to this magnificent scene, from the masterful film Red Shoes, or what might be one of the most gorgeous musical moments committed to film in Singing in the Rain, it simply pales in comparison. As a whole, La La Land is a compelling movie, but it doesn't quite compare to films so iconic, even the legendary Stanley Kubrick mimicked it for The Clockwork Orange.
I'm singing in the road, just singing in the road. What a glorious feeling, I'm happy again.
Are we going to finish in 6 months? You know, this is after shooting. Am I going to finish, but can I set meetings and have people, because people were waiting and writers were waiting and people that I was paying, because I said, Stanley, I don't care. Tell me it's going to be 2 years, Stanley. And he'd say, oh, Tom, don't be ridiculous. I mean, if it takes that long, you know, I mean, then what, you know, everything they say about us is true, you know. I would laugh.
It's very much an out-of-body experience. It's life and death stakes, and it's very, very real. You're what we call in present time.
It's Tom Cruise.
We almost finish each other's sentences, kind of.
I mean, I don't think we've ever finished each other's sentences.
So over the last few weeks, we've had gun shootouts, stunts, fighting, car chases. But reading your guys' comments, you wanted love scenes and best and worst dialogue, best chases on foot, best anime, and so forth. So this series will hopefully encompass all of those things together and will allow bad movie fights versus good movie fights to remain the same. But to do so, I need you guys to hit the like button because it helps me and helps the algorithm know that you want more from this specific series. Which of the scenes did you think was the best today, and which bad and good movie scenes should I cover next? Let me know in the comments. Remember, everything is open apart from fights and period dramas, of course. And until we speak again, big love.
You look like a badger. Oh. Are you going to cry?
Really?